So we're pretty much done with the Django URLs for this section. We're done with all Django related stuff, and we're just going to be working with the example.html. Of course, something I did skip in that last one is I want to make sure my Django server is running, and that definitely is. Okay, so now we want to talk about how the Bootstrap stuff works. And by default, you put everything into something called a container. So you have two different classes for this. So it's container and another div class called container fluid. So we want to put all of our content in one of these two areas. Now, what this means is it's just allowing us to actually organize our content. So if I refresh in here and take out that hello world, it's gone, right? Let's go ahead and go back into getbootstrap.com into documentation. We're going to go into components and we're going to just grab some of these alerts here. So I'm going to grab this first alert, copy and paste it into my container. And then I'm going to grab the second alert and copy and paste that into my container fluid. Okay, so let's tab some of this stuff back so we know where we're working here. And save it. And let's go back into Bootstrap and take a look. This is literally the difference between the two. Container Fluid has a full width no matter what size the browser is. Container, on the other hand, breaks down. It goes full width when it becomes more of like a mobile device. See, if it's the size of a tablet or your desktop, it gives some padding on the outside. You'll see this a lot with different websites. And this full-on container allows us to do a full width no matter the size of the browser. Now again, these things are different for wherever you're going. If we look at Bootstrap, our course for this right here, if I click on Getting Started, what do you think this container is? Is it the standard container or container fluid? Hopefully, you just by looking at this, you can kind of guess. And the answer is it's a container fluid. So everything inside of there, everything inside of container fluid goes the full width. Everything inside of just container has some extra padding on the outside. And if you want to know the actual width itself, you can inspect the element on that container. And we see when it's a minimum width of 1200 pixels, that is when the actual device that we're on is 1200 pixels, this is 1140 by 50. So the height isn't as important, but it is the width that is. So it does change depending on what it is, right? So if I'm a little bit smaller, it goes to 960, but then it has this gap on the outside of it, which is pretty cool. I mean, it makes things a little bit easier on us when it comes to designing things. So you have two choices. You either do container fluid, which is a full width container, or you do container, which is not a full width on most sides. Container is something I typically use for applications that I think are going to be used on both mobile and desktop roughly evenly. If you're using just mobile, I think container fluid will probably be the one you'll end up using a lot of. But again, it's going to depend on the design. Like, for example, with Coding for Entrepreneurs, this e-commerce section, like this entire course is or not the entire course, but the sections are in this container fluid. And when we break it down, it actually shows you that. It's not completely using one or the other inside of the entire project. So it's definitely different for each one. So it's good to understand that there are some pluses and minuses of each one. Now, we are going to be going off of both of these so you can see the results of them going forward. If you have any questions, let us know. Otherwise, let's keep going.